Hi everyone, welcome back to another weekend reflection video. Weekend reflections where we take 5 or 10 minutes to have a weekend and just reflect on how the week's gone and sort of putting all our thoughts aside about life and work for a minute, give ourselves a bit of wisdom. And I usually do as far a quote or a Bible verse, although that isn't the gold standard, it's just the way I do it, and there's many different ways you can do it. So today I've actually got a quote from someone that is personal to me. This isn't someone who's widely known, isn't someone who's famous or historically famous. It's just someone who I had a deep conversation with the other day. And they said something that really stuck with me, and hopefully I can put that into context today. And the quote goes something like this: "Do not work to be promoted, but work hard and give value and get promoted as a consequence." So obviously I didn't say that literally word for word, but after that big conversation we had, that's basically what they were getting at. So I've just condensed it down for you guys. So this is actually quite, sometimes maybe a little bit confusing one for people, and it was for me to begin with, but when I sort of understood it, it makes sense. So many of us are so focused on that next promotion. For me, it's tech, although tech ain't technically a promotion, but it's the next one up, more money, whatever. But for some people, it might be corporal, sergeant, whatever, or officer ranks, for example. But what some people do is they're so focused on that promotion, they actually forget what they need to do in order to get there. Now, they may get there at certain points, but it's not just all about the promotion. When you get promotion, there's a level of responsibility that comes with you. And if you basically clawed tooth and nail at the people that to get promoted, and now you've got to look after them, it's not going to go well. So I'm not necessarily also saying bend over backwards and let everyone walk over you. It's finding that balance, if you know what I mean. So what I actually find is that hard work and value get you promoted. Whereas if you was to just solely focus on promotion, you're not going to bring that hard work and value. Again, you might get promoted at some point, but one, it could be way earlier if you was to do it the other way around. And two, it's also the environment that you bring. There's nothing worse than, yes, I got my stripes, I got my chevrons, but no one fucking likes me because I'm an arsehole or whatever, right? If you see what I'm coming from, obviously most people won't think like that. Most people are blatantly oblivious, but people give you signs, it's quite obvious. If you are obviously receptive to that. But my point is that if you constantly soul on being promoted, it's just not going to be a great journey. However, if you was to go, right, yeah, I would like to be promoted, but hold on, I understand what promotion entails. I know the responsibility that comes with it. So maybe I should focus on my hard work, focus on my values. So what does that mean? Well, hard work for me is just showing up day in, day out, being reliable, being trusted. Okay, so like the core fundamentals of a workplace, if they give you a task, they don't need to baby you, they don't need to ask you a second time. They might, obviously things fall through the crack if you're busy. That's just human nature that happens. But it's more the fact of if you've been told to do something, you're on your phone, and then they tell you, and you're like, yeah, and you just carry on back on phone. You see what I'm saying? That's not hard work. But then value is what you bring in the sense of what you choose to bring. And I'll give you an example in just a bit about something that I did recently in my actual job. But let me just conclude the hard work stuff. People don't understand. There are people out there that are just happy to go to work, flipping, poodle away, and then come home and do that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong for that. For someone like myself, I've always been very proactive, whether it's sport, whether it's fitness, whether it's getting involved in stuff. I've always tried to get involved in things. So I like taking on the challenges. I like pushing myself and seeing how far I can go. That's always been got a really itchy leg. There we go. I've always been someone who can be as proactive as possible. And that's because I was someone that was a, what are they called? Not a narcissist, maybe at one point, but it's someone who basically just doesn't do anything. They, I've got the word on the tip of my tongue, but basically where someone is, a procrastinator, that's the one, a procrastinator. I was at one point a procrastinator, even though I thought I was this. And when I realised what I was doing and it really damaged my life at one point, I then decided to go 180 and just went the whole different way. And that's why I am the way I am today. So, I'm not necessarily saying there's something wrong with that. I'm just saying there's some people like that. But if you're someone who wants to be promoted, but, you don't really, you just want to do that, you're most likely not going to get promoted as fast as someone who puts themselves out there, asks for extra tasks, and then they will get promoted more because their SJARs are going to be more gleaming. And obviously, when it comes to promotion with people like SJARs, what does that mean? Don't worry about that just yet. This is obviously something you need in order to be promoted. And, and there's different levels of SJARs, but I'd rather wait to be promoted so I can really dive into that a bit more and give you guys some context. But the fundamental is that if someone puts themselves out there and someone just poodles along, that person's going to do better. It's just the way the world works. Some people call it unfair, and they're great people for anyone who's religious. Obviously, the story of Cain and Abel, many people have heard of this, where obviously Abel gave his greatest sacrifice. It could even be heartfelt. It hurt to give this sacrifice, but then Cain was a bit more sort of half-assed and gave him somewhat of a sacrifice, and then God blessed Abel, gave him abundance of fruit, and he had a community and this, that, and the other, where Abel got nothing because he was half-assed. And that's a really good understanding of hard work, of sacrifice, obviously, and the Bible teaches that very, very strongly, about putting yourself out there and going for it. And it's going to be uncomfortable at times, but you will be rewarded in good time. And I'm a strong believer of that. So now moving on to the sort of value, just to sort of wrap up this video, is that the value is simply what you choose to bring. So the hard work is sort of like what is required at bottom line. That's for anyone, okay? So again, it's showing up, it's being reliable, working as hard as you can, and doing the best you can. It doesn't have to be the absolute pinnacle of whatever job you do. Obviously that will help, but if you're so reliable and they show that your work, that will go a long way, I promise you. And people will like you more, and they'll help you if you struggle in certain areas, because they can show that you're trying. And it's just human nature to help, especially with people who want to do well in their lives. So for the value side of it, again, this is something that you bring, you choose to do yourself. Now, this is the icing on top of the cake, so to speak. The hard work's a cake. This is what makes it really good. So I'll give an example for me. So just to sort of cut a long story short, basically there is a position, I can't talk about exactly what I do, but there's a position in my sort of department. They technically moved to a different department. It was empty. They didn't have anyone to fill it. And there was a guy coming from phase 2, and they said the plan is we're going to put him on this specific part of the department where he was supposed to be what I was doing. I was supposed to train him up, and then he can learn that in good time. But I thought that's a bit unfair, because he needs to know some level of this in order to do this, some level of this. So I put myself out there. I said, well, if we actually look at it, I'm going to be moving to a different department once certain things happen. There is someone already there who is going to be set in that department, although they're the most experienced ones. I thought it wouldn't be good for them to go and do that, because they're the ones that a lot of people rely on, or a lot sort of lean on for help. So I thought, me being the one who understands the role that I'm doing currently, and I'm quite confident I don't need to lean on people a bit, I will go and take that extra responsibility on, and then that person who can join can just focus on getting used to this, and then I will train them up in that regard when they're ready. And then the corporate I spoke to was like, that's such a good idea, like that's really good. So he then went to line manager, and they were like, yeah, let's do that, that's a great idea. And that got recognized. That is your value. Okay, so what did people learn from that point? Is that, one, that I'm not afraid to take on extra work, and two, I'm also not afraid to challenge what I believe has been done. It's not a challenge like just being a flipping gnat on someone's head. I had an idea that I thought was better, more value, more productive, better operational effectiveness, if you want to get into that terminology. But you see the point that I'm saying, and that's just a great example. So value is what you choose to bring. You can sit there and you might be a hard worker, but you're scared to say certain things and that. Sometimes you need to have a bit of oomph. Go out there and just say, look, I believe this is the best idea. They don't have to listen to you, because if it's a corporal sergeant who you're talking to, they might go, yeah, whatever. At least you've done your bit. That still makes a difference. So at some point in your career, you're going to go to someone who does that, and they will appreciate it. And then obviously that will get you noticed, get you and get you respected as well. Because it's not just about the chevrons, it's the respect that comes with it as well. Because obviously being in the military specifically, respect goes a flipping long way. So yeah, I know it's a bit more of a longer video. Hopefully you guys have found some use in that. And yeah, thank you for sticking around, and I hope you are finding values in these weekend videos. If there's something that, if it's anything you're struggling with, or anything you want to put in the comments, just throw it in the comments. That's the whole point. It's a place to vent, give yourself that space to talk. I know I said 5 to 10 minutes, and I've kept it under 10, fortunately. And yeah, so I'll see you in the next weekend reflection, whenever that is. Take care. Bye-bye.